All right, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started here for the weekly briefing. Meteorologist Andrew Kren here for the Weather Service in Raleigh, covering the period today, April 7th through Sunday, April 13th. So key points for the week. A lot of our weather is going to be happening today and parts of the late in the week, Friday. So for today, we have basically an area of low pressure in a cold front that's going to be moving through the area tonight. Ahead of it, it's going to bring a line of showers and storms that has already ongoing across our western Piedmont, which I'll talk about here briefly. We have a severe threat today with the storms between about 12 and 7 o'clock this evening. Damaging winds and an isolated tornado are the main severe threats, but certainly isolated flash flooding will be possible mainly in urban areas. Once the cold front moves through, we're going to get some pretty chilly temperatures move in Tuesday, and by Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, we'll likely see some frost and freeze conditions under cold high pressure. So you may end up seeing some of those frost freeze products being issued later today or tomorrow. Then we are going to see largely below normal temperatures the remainder of the period, with highs mainly in the 60s into the low 70s. Our warmest day is likely to be Thursday and perhaps into Friday. We do have another system coming in late in the week with yet another cold front, and that will bring our highest rain chances mainly on Friday, but could start as early as Thursday night. And some of those showers could linger into Saturday as we remain kind of chilly and cloudy for the first part of the weekend, and then eventually warm up by early next week. So looking at our current radar right now, we basically have a bunch of showers extending from Georgia all the way up into Virginia, and we got the heaviest rain activity right across the western Piedmont. I'll turn on this drawing feature here. Basically, the cold front is kind of draped right along this area right in here, basically across the western part of our state and into parts of central Georgia. So a lot of this rain is going to continue to track up into the north and east, up into central portions of North Carolina, with the rain kind of becoming heavier as we go throughout the afternoon and into the early evening hours. Starting to see the heavier rain kind of develop across the Triad and the western Piedmont. That should continue to work its way east as we go into the afternoon and in the evening hours.
Let's do that.
So we have just updated about an hour or two ago. Storm Prediction Center has increased the severe weather threat for this afternoon and evening to a slight risk, a level 2 of 5. We do think the main timing for that severe potential is going to be between about noon and 7 o'clock. And I think the greatest threat is going to be primarily US 1 East. And that is primarily where the slight risk is also highlighted. Main threats, locally damaging winds. We can't rule out an isolated tornado, but I think the damaging winds would be the main threat. Certainly in the urban areas, we could see some flash flooding with some heavier downpours moving across the area this afternoon and evening hours. So kind of break it down for you, looking at the expected time for the greatest storm impacts. This map kind of shows roughly a 3-hour window where we expect the greatest impacts to be. So across our western Piedmont, basically between about now, roughly noonish until about 3, over the triangle, down towards Maxton, Laurinburg, and up into Henderson, kind of looking at between 2 and 5 p.m. This afternoon to the early evening, and then across the eastern Sandhills, the coastal plain, from about Fayetteville to Rocky Mount and points east, kind of between 4 and 7 o'clock this evening. So that's kind of the main timing we're looking at, and certainly rain will continue to be ongoing once this greatest storm impact moves out, we'll have likely rain extending across the area up into the early overnight hours, especially US 1 East. But at that point, largely is going to be primarily just a persistent rain, which should hopefully help our drought conditions. So I did mention earlier the potential flash flooding. So we do have a marginal risk out, primarily the majority of the eastern part of the state, with minor flooding possible, mainly urban areas and along small streams. I see some questions. I will get to those at the end of the briefing here, and then we'll tackle that once we get to it. Hopefully that's okay. All right. Severe risk for the remainder of the week. No severe threats after today. So today's that main slight risk, and then we are largely thunder free most of the week. We could see something on Friday, but at this point a little bit too uncertain to make any definitive answers there. So going into precipitation, again, largely much of the rain going to be happening today into tonight. We could see rainfall totals upwards of 2 inches, perhaps 2+ inches in some of the isolated spots, but a broad swath of about 1 to 2 inches. So a nice soaker today. Another system, as I did mention, comes in Thursday through Friday and perhaps lingers into Saturday. It's largely going to be shower activity. We can't rule out some isolated thunder. Nothing severe at this point. We would have to continue to monitor that as it gets closer, but that could dump an additional half to an inch of rain, which will also be beneficial. And then a 5-day total, we could see anywhere from 2 to perhaps 3 inches, highest amounts toward the Virginia border. So with that expected 5-day total, let's look at what basically a percent of normal forecast rainfall might look like through the next 7 days, which primarily will cover today and Friday into Saturday. So looking at this graphic, what you can see is that a large portion of our area is going to see basically anywhere from 200 to 400% of normal rainfall. This is likely going to aid some of the current drought situation. Our highest rainfall totals kind of roughly across the triangle, as you can see here, all the way up into the Virginia border. But still, most of central North Carolina is seeing that 200% or more of normal expected rainfall. So a very good situation there. This is our drought update, but it was from last week. They will take further assessments tomorrow and assess what rain ended up falling today to potentially provide any updates with that. That will be updated, and we will update you on that on Thursday with our briefing at that time. We have begun the Frost Freeze program that began Sunday, March 23rd, given that we are now in the growing season. I just wanted to point this out because on the next slide, we are expecting some 32 degrees or lower temperatures for Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, and a freeze watch is expected if 24 to 48 hours in advance. We are expecting 32 or lower in terms of temperatures, and then a freeze warning once we get closer to the event that we have high confidence that it will be at or below freezing. And then we issue frost advisories anywhere from 33 to 36 degrees. So with that, we are currently expecting largely temperatures upper 20s to about mid 30s area wide Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. A pretty anomalously cold air mass builds in behind this front today and favors those temperatures. So frost and freeze conditions are likely, and we've been looking at this for several days, so it's been pretty consistent. So don't be surprised if a freeze watch or warning is issued later today or tomorrow. Going into the extended, we are expecting about a 30 to 50% chance of seeing above normal temperatures, and then slightly below normal precipitation. So perhaps going into more of a dry period as we go into the middle of next week. Experimental graphical hazardous weather outlook. Again, we have the severe threat today. We have the frost and freeze Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. We could see some isolated thunder on Friday with that next system. And that's primarily the main players. Going to be kind of gusty today, but nothing wind advisory criteria, not much reaching that criteria today. So I'll go in the summary and then I will go over your questions. So weather summary, we have showers and isolated storms today into tonight ahead of a cold front. The severe threat today will be between about 12 and 7. Damaging winds and a few isolated tornadoes are the main threat. Frost and freeze, and then builds in Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So we kind of do this roller coaster of warm temps going into cold temps, largely below normal temperatures. The remainder of the period with highs mainly in the 60s and 70s. We will warm up towards the latter part of the period, late Sunday, Monday. Rain chances return Thursday into Saturday with the highest chances on Friday. And mainly hazards and impacts. We have that slight risk today for storms, marginal risk for the excessive rain, and frost and freeze for Tuesday night to Wednesday morning.